Hi, my name is Tristan Gordon. I'm in Management 2010, and this is my leadership presentation on Greta Thunberg. As an introduction, Greta Thunberg is a 17-year-old from Sweden that has started a global movement of climate awareness and climate control. She started her protests in August of 2018 by skipping school and striking in front of the Swedish parliament for their inaction on climate change. These strikes came to be called climate strikes. Since then, she has spoken in front of the United Nations, met with Pope Francis, and even sparred against Donald Trump. In 2019, she won Time Magazine's Person of the Year. For her cause, her mission is to raise awareness for climate change and to incite those with power to do something about it. She's inspired hundreds of thousands of students to skip school and take part in climate strikes on Fridays. Her call is for those with the ability to make changes and to act, and shames those who choose to do nothing. She reminds those in power now how much they have failed future generations, but that they also won't be in charge forever, and soon the next generation can inherit their increasingly unavailable planet. One of my favorite quotes from her is that we can't just continue to live as if there was no tomorrow, because there is a tomorrow. So, what makes Greta Thunberg such a great leader? Part of it is largely due to her age and her relatability to our generation. She has become a voice for those who feel small and insignificant to the establishment, for those who feel like they cannot talk to the people at higher power. She empowers people and gives them an easy and feasible way to be part of this cause. She's organized climate strikes every Friday and has attended numerous conferences to share her voice and appeal to leaders. She also appeals to people's emotions. She encourages their self-actualization. Even though she doesn't directly manage the people, she embodies theory Y management. She believes in this cause, and she believes that other people believe in this cause. And instead of trying to mandate and declare what people are going to do, she encourages people to make a change because that's what they want to do, and she encourages their desires. So now we're going to talk about Greta's leadership style. Greta emphasizes a behavioral viewpoint of management. She motivates and encourages people to speak out for climate change and harness their own voices. She's not a conventional leader that is responsible for others, but the definition of management according to our textbook is the pursuit of organizational goals efficiently and effectively by integrating the work of people through planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the organization's resources. While she doesn't directly control any resources, she does plan events, organize people, and lead people towards a common cause, that is climate control. Greta has been able to unify people towards the goal of climate activism. She relies on communicating with her followers entirely through public speeches and social media. She also has Asperger's syndrome, and while she has been attacked for it and claimed that she has a mental illness, it has allowed her to speak effectively exactly what's on her mind. She acts as a figurehead and a leader for global climate change. She's a figurehead/leader because she has no real power over people, but she uses her management and leading skills to motivate people towards a common goal. So next, I'm going to talk a little more about Fridays for Future. Fridays for Future began in August 2018 when Greta decided to sit outside Swedish Parliament every day instead of going to school for 3 whole weeks to protest their lack of action against the climate crisis. On September 8, 2018, she decided to continue striking every Friday instead. Her protest garnered a lot of attention from social media sites like Instagram and Twitter, and soon she gained a massive following. In September of 2019, 4 million people across the world joined her in her climate strike. Eventually, she ended up speaking in front of the United Nations, supporting them and convincing them to create a plan to create a future with zero carbon emissions. If you want to know more about Fridays for Future, you can check out fridaysforfuture.org and figure out different strikes in your area and more about the cause. So next I'm going to talk a little more about the criticisms Greta Thunberg has received. She's received many criticisms, particularly from conservative parties regarding her activism, her vocal nature, as well as her mental illnesses. In her clashes with Donald Trump, he's made light of all of her statements due to her age, because she's just a silly 17-year-old girl. In interviews on Fox News, Laura Ingraham has told her to let the grown-ups work and to go back to school, and it'll all be okay. Well, in an interview with Michael Knowles on Fox News, he attacked her saying that she was mentally ill and didn't know what she was talking about. In all of these situations, she's only responded to these attacks with positivity and objectivity. Whenever she's at these meetings or interviews, she stays objective and continues to do what she came there to do. She doesn't acknowledge the attacks against her or her Asperger's syndrome. She says what she wants to say, and she sticks to her cause and talks about climate change instead of anything else. A really good example of this is when Greta Thunberg was awarded Time Magazine's Person of the Year in 2019. She ended up on the cover, and they did a full article on her. In response, Donald Trump tweeted that this was so ridiculous. Greta must work on her anger management problem, and then go to an old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill. Even though Donald Trump has a history of being really chill and really relaxed, instead of defending herself or striking back at Donald Trump, instead her response was to change her bio on Twitter. She changed it to simply, a teenager working on her anger management problem, currently chilling and watching a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. I think this is a prime example of her putting a positive spin on any criticism she receives. So, this being a leadership presentation after all, I'm going to talk a little more about my leadership style. I embody the management style of Theory Y managers. I tend to focus on motivating others to do a better job through encouragement, positive reinforcement, and building strong relationships with them. I myself do better being given a responsibility, and I myself desire to self-improve. Understanding the way I feel as an employee through co-ops, internships, and past work experience, I feel capable of applying these experiences to others as a leader. My greatest strength is my charisma and my ability to form relationships with others. This has allowed me to get to know those I'm working with on a personal level. Because of this, I've been able to find out what makes people tick, how to encourage them and find the positive reinforcement that they need to do a good job, find the reason that they want to do this for themselves. On top of this, I also struggle keeping track of finer details, and this leads me to delegating more responsibility to others, and this allows me to focus on larger goals as a leader instead. The best example I have of this is when I was studying abroad in Sweden. It was the end of our semester, and our goal was to create a presentation, research study, and case study as to why innovative technology would or wouldn't be able to save our future, environmentally speaking. Over time, I naturally assumed the role of a leader. Historically speaking, I usually used to micromanage groups, or at least in high school and like gen eds of college, because they were low-level learning, and I felt that I had the best tools and I was best equipped to do everything in these projects. But as learning became more specialized and higher levels, I found that I wasn't the best person for every job. While I had a knack for leading people and encouraging people, I wasn't the best at everything in the projects themselves. And this became especially evident during this project. We had a very multidisciplinary group. One of the girls in our group focused on disability studies. I came from an engineering background. There was another mechanical engineer. We had a girl whose major was public speaking. We had someone else who focused on microbiome. And then we had someone from China who had the best work ethic I've ever seen in my life, but didn't speak a lick of English. And then there was one person who literally did nothing. So being in this situation, I realized there were so many people here with so many expertise. It would be silly for me to try and micromanage this. And instead, I delegated to everybody else here to do what they felt they were most equipped to handle. What this ended up leading to is the girl who focused on the disability studies. She found a lot of programs for people with disabilities to help in environmental activities and environmental causes. The girl who focused on public speaking, she gave us pointers and tips and helped us all on our public speaking before our final presentation. Me and the other engineer, we focused on the technology side and the applications of all these technologies. The guy who didn't speak a lot of English but had an amazing work ethic, his focus was primarily research, and he was phenomenal at it, and he found the perfect research that we needed. The problem we ran into was that one student who actually did nothing. On our final presentation, the day before, we were going through all our slides and everything we wanted to show, and his slide had 3 words and the picture of a pyramid. Throughout the entire semester, he kept asking, was this enough? Was this enough? And no one really wanted to tell him no because everyone wanted to be nice. And I consistently told him, no, this wasn't enough. No, this wasn't enough. No, this wasn't enough. And that day, I had to make an executive decision, and we cut him out of the entire presentation because he didn't know what he was talking about, and he didn't step up to the standards we placed for him all throughout the semester. In the end, we made a phenomenal presentation, and it was one of the greatest presentations that I've ever made. I'm still really proud of it, and a lot of the people from that group afterwards, we still keep in touch on WhatsApp. Being an industrial engineer, it's expected that I'll run into a lot of future management and leadership roles in the future. As an industrial engineer, it's expected to at some point be at least a middle manager. We find ways to actualize the goals of upper management within our respective plants and coordinate the goals of first-line managers to achieve their goals. As industrial engineers, we apply the quantitative viewpoint of management through management science and operations research and management. We do this by using mathematics to improve our problem-solving methods and focusing on the quality and efficiency of our products to effectively meet and exceed the voices of our customer. And here you can find the sources I used for this presentation. Thank you so much for your attention.